For the first time in a long time, the Philadelphia Eagles find themselves in an enviable position. We got 3 first-round picks. We just made the playoffs with a rookie head coach. We have a quarterback that's cheap that we might be able to manage and get to a point where he is that franchise guy. Everything looks up. We got ourselves a wide receiver. Everything looks good, but there's that second step you have to take. And with this 5-step plan, I think that the Eagles can take that second step. So let's get into my 5-step plan on how to make the Eagles an actual competitor. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So like I said, today I want to do my 5-step plan to go ahead and make the Eagles win this offseason and be able to go into next year as a real competitive team and a real team with a chip on its shoulder and ready to prove a lot of doubters wrong. I think that it, starts and begins with Jalen Hurts, but there's obviously far more to it, and it goes, the coaching staff, everybody's got a job to do, and we're going to go over that. But before we do, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 4K, and we would love for you guys to join that ride. So without further ado, I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to go right ahead into step 1. Step 1 is going to be figure out what's going on with Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelce. More so Jason Kelce, it's kind of, if he's going to retire, let's figure out whether or not we're going to move Landon on over to the center spot. Do we feel Isaac Seumalo can take it? Do we feel we can, put maybe a Nate Herbig there? Figure out what you want to do there. Is it something you think you have to draft a replacement for him? Obviously, we've talked about Tyler Linderbaum. We've talked about a couple different guards also that could go ahead and take Landon's spot to go ahead and move into the center spot. So that's what you want to figure out with Jason Kelce. As far as Brandon Brooks, I feel like we have guys that can replace him right now. Again, you can go ahead and draft somebody if you feel that you need to replace him that way. Or is he going to come back and is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be a guy that you can rely upon to be that guy and be ready for you to come next year, and you're not worried too much about the money? Because also, not just the health aspect, but you're looking at a pretty hefty price tag, right? You're gonna have to pay this guy. So if he goes ahead and retires, which is a rumor right now, that saves you some money. Obviously, I'm not saying, tell him to retire, but if he does, that might be the best case scenario, because I'm not 100% sure on what his trade value would be. So I don't know if you go ahead and outright cut him. I doubt that the Eagles would be willing to do that, especially if he's healthy. So maybe a retirement, maybe an unfortunate early retirement for my guy Brandon Brooks is what would help the Eagles the most. Again, I'm not saying that, you tell a man to retire, but I'm just saying we got to figure out what the next move is with Brandon Brooks and with Jason Kelce. Now, step number two, I think, is maybe a fan favorite. Probably this is probably going to be one of your favorites. We got to go ahead and move on from Reagor and J. Jaw. Now, it's not just because of the talent. It's because both of these guys are on what I see to be hefty contracts. I'm not paying Reagor a first-round, deal anymore. And J. Jaw was a second-round pick. He's on his final year. Go ahead and move on from him. Let's show to not only our fans and our franchise, show to these players that we're taking talent. From now on, it's about talent. It's about competition. It's about getting better. And if you're not able to do that, we have to move on. We can't keep on forging out some random position for J-Jaw just to make it make sense. We've seen this guy drop easy passes, as we have seen, obviously, with Reagor. So it's time to move on, in my opinion. It's time to, end the charade that we had running, thinking that for some reason we were going to do something this year with these guys. We aren't. And, Jalen Reagor, maybe I'm a little bit more... Maybe he has a little bit of a leash, but if in the preseason he can't do nothing, he definitely got to go. So I'm saying step 2, get rid of these guys, be ready to move on from these guys, and be ready to replace these guys, which is going to be another step. But step 3, we're going to move on to. And honestly, step 3, man, I think we all know this. You gotta draft defense. You gotta draft defense. The guys that I posted on the picture, and I'll get even, deeper on this. You gotta draft defense with your first 3 picks. If even if you move on with your one of your first round picks, use that second round pick and get the best defensive player you can. Maybe a cornerback, maybe a safety. I've seen a lot of them drop, and there's a lot of defensive ends that are good in this draft, a lot of interior D linemen that could be good, from that second day pile. So you have to go crazy on defense this year. I hate to use them as an example, but you have to kind of follow the mindset that the Dallas Cowboys had last year. There's really no other option right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. We are a defense away from being a competitive team, in my opinion. If you can hold a team under 20 points in this NFL right now, you are doing something. We've seen that, especially in these playoffs. We've seen offenses go crazy, and I know a lot of people are starting to go to the mindset that you have to have a elite offense to win games in this league. And it helps. Don't get me wrong, but if you have an elite defense, I still feel like it's hard for a lot of teams to cope with that. When you have a defense that's going to go out there and be aggressive, you have an athletic, fast defense that's going to create turnovers, it's hard for teams to face that. And the Eagles need to build that core on defense. It's been far too long. All of our great players right now are old. It is basic. Like you look at Fletcher Cox, you look at Darius Slay, you look at even Rodney McLeod, you want to throw them in there. They're aging. They're not getting any younger. Their production is not going to get any better once you move on in years. Darius Slay obviously had one of his better years since, honestly, like his second or third year. I mean, this was probably his best year in a long time, if not his best. So I look at all this, and it's like you have to start getting some young marquee players that you can start to build around and have your defensive coordinator some actual young talent that he can mold. So step 3 to me is imperative. Step 3 is one of probably the most important step in this process. I think that you don't get far without making your defense better. So I have to go with that. Now, step 4. We get to step 4, and this goes back to step 2, right? We cut those 2 young guys, and we go ahead and sign a veteran wide receiver. I've heard people say Calvin Ridley, we traded for him. I've heard people say Allen Robinson, go ahead and get him. I've heard Mike Williams. I'm cool with all of them. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm cool with all of them. Let's just go ahead and get ourselves a veteran wide receiver in that room, even if it's just to help these young guys. Look, I really like Quez. I think that Quez can be that guy. I think that he has to learn a couple things, learn a little, and I think it comes with time. I think he's not perfect, nor is Devontae Smith. They're both learning. And if you can get not even older, but if you can get a veteran guy in there that's been in the league for a couple years, 5-6 years, been on some winning teams, been on some good offenses, that can kind of give these young guys a little bit of a push, give them a little bit of this is how the league works, and I think that would work dividends. That would pay dividends to not only the players on the field, but the coaching staff that we have. We have a very wide receiver centric coaching staff. So if you give this coaching staff a veteran that can kind of click with what they're trying to do, you kind of lead by example. You kind of say, well, look what Mike Williams is doing. Devontae, this is how we want you to do it. And it's not saying that Mike Williams is better than Devontae. It's saying that he understands the language a little bit better. And I'm just using Mike Williams as an example. It can be any of them. I'm just saying when you get a veteran in there, the language becomes a little bit easier to dictate, a little bit easier to translate, and you just have that connection. Well, obviously we have a younger staff, so it might be a little bit easier in that, retrospect, but I don't think signing a veteran wide receiver hurts this team at all. If anything, I think it helps it, and it'll pay big dividends. And we've talked about that. I don't think that the offense is that far from being a very good offense. I think they are a very good offense. So you add another weapon. I don't think they're that far. So that's my step 4. Now we're going to get into step 5, man. We're going to get into the final step that I think will really be the most important part of all this. I kind of said this in the beginning of the show. It all starts and ends with a man named Jalen Hurts. So it all starts and ends with him, man. And it obviously comes down to this coaching staff utilizing him properly. And through the offseason, obviously, you're not utilizing him, right? You're building. So I went ahead and said, build the offense around his strengths. And this doesn't even mean players. This means you self-scout. You watch back those 17 games. You see how the difference between the first, 7, 8 games and the last 8, 9 games went, right? And you look at what Jalen Hurts was able to do well, what he wasn't able to do well, and you build your plays. You design your offense around this young man. If this is going to be the guy that you move forward with, then you have to put your best foot forward in order to give him the best chance. If he fails, then he fails. But we cannot give any shadow of the doubt. We can't give any, well, if they would have done this with him as a passer and this. You have to build the offense, and that is why Doug Peterson is no longer here, in my opinion. One of the things that I'll say, but one of the things that he was kind of just irreverent to is just he didn't want to change his play calling. He didn't want to, mold his offense around a player. Nick, we need you to be able to do that. It comes down to Shane as well. We need Aaron Moorhead to step in there and really get those wide receivers on the same page with Jalen Hurts, and we need a full cohesive unit. Build this team around Jalen Hurts. If you're going to go all rockets fire, all, sails ahead, then you have to do it. You have to put your best foot forward. You have to build an offense that he can not only run, but he can run successfully and comfortably. Let him grow at his own rate. And like I said, I do believe that Jalen Hurts will at least get next year. If not, at the very, very worst, he'll get competition, I think. And it's up to him to win it. It's up to him to win that job. And it comes down to that. But you have to, as a coaching staff and as a franchise, put your players in the best position. And I feel like I don't know what that offense would look like. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm not, I would love to pick some guys' minds, and I'm gonna get some good film guys on here, and we're gonna really, maybe I'll holler back at Fran Duffy, maybe get him back on here and really try and ask, what do you think it is he does well? What type of scheme would really fit him? Because me personally, I don't know what we would do. I'm thinking short passes, quick run games. Quick run games, quick passes, short run game. Thank you. I got it. There we go. You know what I'm saying? Be one of those offenses that kind of just slowly and methodically works your way down the field. I think that's what would work best with him. I don't think he has the timing nor the foresight right now as a quarterback to be able to sit back in the pocket and read everything. So I think you make it easier for him. But again, I don't know. That is what you get paid for, Nick Sirianni. So this offseason needs to be taken to really build your offense and your offensive identity around what you feel Jalen Hurts does well. Look, I really do feel like this year we can be something. I do. I want to say that the Philadelphia Eagles can be a contender in this upcoming season, but it's all up to these plans. It's all up to these steps. You have to take it step by step. This draft is a very important draft, not just for the next year, but the upcoming future. The Eagles are getting younger. The Eagles are becoming a new team right before our very eyes. It's a beautiful thing to watch. I hope that Howie Roseman is watching this, and if you are Howie, if you're watching this, Howie, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. And if you are watching this and you're not Howie, you can do the same. But other than that, you guys let me know what you're thinking in the comments, man. How do you feel? Give me your 5-step plan. I want to know your 5-step plan. Maybe if I get enough 5-step plans in the comments, I'll do a video just reacting to all of your guys' different opinions. That might be cool. That might actually be fun. So let's do that. But yeah, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Everywhere, this is for you.
Yeah. Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the hand.